Welcome everyone to another episode of Couch Coaches. I'm John Lazaron, and I'm joined by my good mate Richard Villaletti, aka the bandwagon conductor. How's it going, bro?
Choo choo! We're still, everyone's jumping on board. It was another tough watch, I think. We made it a lot harder on ourselves than it had to be, but another 2 points in the bag. We had a few injuries, so it was good to see a few guys playing out of position. But yeah, I'm loving the support from the country at the moment. The outdoors are just they're everywhere. You just can't escape it at the moment. John, how are you feeling about it?
Oh, to be honest, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Like I'm still always going to be the old school, up the Warriors. But it is starting to catch on a little bit. I admit, and I've always said that I was never against it. I just said I prefer, up the Warriors. But I'm glad that if it's for the sake of the whole country getting behind them, then I'm all behind it as well. In that sense, I
Yeah,
just have
it's
a preference.
crazy. You think about what the Rugby World Cup's on in like 2 or 3 weeks, and it seems that the Warriors are the talk of town. You wouldn't dream about this a few years ago. So
Yeah.
you just got to soak it up while you can, and while the All Blacks are losing by 28 points to South Africa as well.
That was hard. That was hard. That was a hard watch. I admit that was a hard watch. And what's even
Yeah,
harder is seeing the South Africans gloat about it, because the thing is that they forget that just a month ago that we dominated them, and then all of a sudden like, oh, we just beat the All Blacks. No, that's it. We're world champions again. And like I mean, they're a good side. Don't get me wrong, but just like shut up, you cocky South Africans.
is this from your personal experience of living with a South African as your wife?
Yeah. She actually sent me a message, and just to rub it in, and I wasn't too impressed, and I wrote a message back, which was, yeah, probably pretty, really, really like a crybaby. I was being a bit of a crybaby at the time. So, but yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Right there,
It's all good.
right there.
Yeah, but the debate whether Webby rests some of the players this week is over, because ongoing for the whole past week is like people are debating whether it's a good thing to rest players, with some arguments going on. Well, if you rest SJ, for example, does it take him out of contention for Dally M? So people, with people right behind him, like Payne Haas, for example, but he's not even playing himself for the Broncos. There's another, so that takes that out of the way. But Nico Hines, for example, he's playing. But also, so the Warriors, it's a totally different side, and I personally was concerned because the Warriors were flying hot before their bye a few weeks ago, about 3 or 4 rounds ago. And since then, don't get me wrong, they're still winning. So I'm still happy. They're still gritty and they're still winning the games. However, they weren't playing sort of that football that we saw prior to the bye. So that, and when I said, like, for example, recently, when I said I want to see a polished performance, what I meant by that, sorry, is I wanted to see a performance where they were still doing, going to their game plan, because the game plan wasn't working. For example, there was a lot of drop balls, unforced errors, that sort of type thing. That's what I meant by polished performance, where you don't see a lot of that. But we've been seeing a lot of that. But at the same time, they're still getting the win. They're still, getting the wins, and that's what counts. And that's why we're in the top four, which is awesome. So the team, Tuapaki at 1 comes in for Chance, obviously. Edward Kosi comes in at 2 for Dallin. Rocco, Berry, and Pompey keeps their position. So does Marcelo Montoya. The big one for me is here. Tamari Martin comes in at 6, but which is, we all expected that to happen anyway, with Luke Metcalf out injured with his hamstring. Don't know how long he'll be out for, but we'll talk about this in a minute. But Tamari Martin, could he be that person that's going to, change things on the left edge there? Because I think, defensively, he's got a better read. He'll be better defensively. 7, Volkman comes in for SJ. You got Bunty starting at 8. Lussick comes in at 9 for Wade Egan. Mitch Barnett is back in the side at 10. Josh Curran at 11 keeps his spot. Marada comes in, still in at 12. And Dylan Walker at 13, taking over Tohu. And he's captaining the side as well. Dylan Walker. That's the other big one for me, because do you think that they're putting Dylan there because Tohu's always played that that forward, but also that playmaking forward kind of role? That's why they've put Dylan Walker there for that same reason.
Yeah, that would sort of make sense in that respect. I I hadn't even thought about that sort of. Oh, Tohu's just such a dynamic player, you know. Like, and to hear the news this week that he's got a bit of a back injury, and they're a bit worried about him for the finals is huge. I think we can't be sleeping on that, because if he's out for the finals, he's just such a vital cog for this team. Obviously, I was thinking before about whether who would be more of a loss if Sean Johnson or Tohu weren't able to play, and I know that Johnson's sort of been saving us last minute lately, but Tohu's just he's the life of this team. So I'm interested to see how Walker goes. He's probably just it's a reward for some amazing performances this season. He's been so good in the middle there, and coming off the bench and making such an impact. The fact they gave him the captain's armband was surprising, I thought, but I suppose also it's just a reward for a good season. He's obviously probably the most experienced guy in that team. When you look, there's some real inexperience there, but I'm excited about seeing this team. I think some of the your Sean Johnsons and your Dallins, and Dallin's probably the amount of times those dives to the corner, he's been smashed into the Hordines, and Johnson's obviously carrying that little niggle in his groin, so it's not going to hurt these guys getting but having a week off, a bit of a rest. I'm sure they'll still be getting involved in training and all that. Great to see Mitch Barnett back, Bunty in the start. And interesting to see Braden Viliame coming off the bench. I think it's the first time we've seen him this season. So he's been injured. Was an off-season signing. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I understand he's sort of more of a centre, but he might be coming in as a providing a bit of cover in the second row as well.
Yeah, I agree. And going back to Walker, I just think that he's probably the most like for like player in terms of Tohu, because he has been doing a lot of forward stuff as well. Kind of like if Jazz was in the side, if he was available. Obviously he's not, because he's not even in the reserves.
Yeah.
But I think Jazz would have been like like a like for like, someone that can play for that kind of position and a playmaker position. But they've used Tohu in that position. They've used Tohu as like as that back row there to go making the forward meters, but also being there as that sort of playmaker as well, when they need to get to switch the ball from side to side. So I think that's why they put Dylan Walker there, which I think is a good move, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes, especially when he will play a pretty much an 80-minute game. I don't see him going off if he's going to be playing in Tohu's position. But I'm excited about this. I'm excited to see this. But what this side also does, because you got the like you said, the reserves 14, Viliame, Jackson Ford at 15, you got Bailey Seranen at 16, and Tom Ali comes back into the side at 16.
Spoke to see LA back. Yeah.
But what this does though is does it deplete the Warriors New South Wales Cup team? Because they've got their own finals.
Yeah,
they've got their own finals. They've got one final coming up. I think they're playing Souths. I think that's who they're playing on the weekend. And if they lose that game, they still get a life. But taking these players and putting them up to first grade, it's going to impact the New South Wales Cup team. So
there'll be a few teams in the competition. Well, in the top four at least of the a few teams that they're the top teams in the top four. That's just the that's the how it rolls with NRL and New South Wales Cup. So it's going to happen. And the what is it? Penrith. Penrith have got a strong team, but the Broncos have rested basically 3/4 of their starting team, and
exactly.
Melbourne's rested their spine, but obviously bringing Pappenhausen in to start. I think Mimi's getting the break, but you got to feel for the New South Wales Cup team and the coaching staff there. But that's how it is, and it's good for the Warriors for some of these guys to get some experience. If Chance goes down at all, Tuapiki he's had a couple of goes recently, and he's stepped up and been great when he's got a chance. Good to see Kossi get a go as well. He's obviously started on the wing and was probably his to lose, but Montoya and Dallin sort of found that mid-season form. I think interesting. You look at some of the guys that are still playing. You got Pompey, you got Rocco Berry, you got Montoya, sort of Nuakure, Curran. They're probably people who Barnett and sort of he's been injured a lot. But Nokore Curran, Nokore's sort of been in and out with injury and suspension, and probably hasn't lived up to the big signing he was supposed to be. Curran's been quite open about the fact he wants more minutes, wants to be starting. He got the start last week, and then he had to go out to the centres when Berry got injured. And then Pompey, Berry, and Montoya. There's been a bit of talk about those centres, and obviously there was that game a few weeks ago with the left edge. So they're probably guys that still have a point to prove. The spot's theirs, but I think they'll be wanting to put on a good performance and sort of lead some of these younger guys around the park.
So what do you think about Tamari Martin coming in? I mean, he was always due to come back in. And just for example, just say Metcalf wasn't injured. Would you have rested Metcalf as well and bring Tamari Martin back in? Or would you have put Metcalf into 7 and rested SJ? And the reason why I asked this is because, the left edge has had the issues in the last few rounds. Where, for example, Metcalf just turning in on the play, which means Pompey has to turn in, which means obviously Montoya has to turn in opening the space for the opposition winger. But Tamari Martin has a good defensive game. He played a lot of fullback as well for the Broncos. He's got a good defensive read, which is why I think that he could probably even fix that defensive area. He can keep his ground and make sure his outside center and winger stay put where they're supposed to be. So what do you think about that? And what do you think he'll bring to the game into the side coming this Sunday? This Saturday, but also coming into the finals.
I would say that if Metcalf wasn't injured, I would have rather see Metcalf continue to play. No dig on Tamari Martin, but I think that it was Metcalf had probably done enough to make the jersey his, and it was always going to be risky sort of bringing Tamari Martin back too early. But in saying that, it's going to be. I mean, he's a great player, as you said. He's a smart guy. He's got the utility factor as well, so he can probably play. He could obviously play in the back, play in the halves. He could probably chuck him in the centres, and he'd be able to hold his ground. He's a smart player, smart footy player. So I'm looking forward to seeing him get back, and hopefully he's fit. But it was pretty. It hurt to see Metcalf go down the way he did, and it sort of made things. I think we would have potentially rolled on a bit more in that second half, and we may have ran away with that game earlier than we did if Metcalf hadn't gone off. But it was a good testament to the team that because Lussick came on, and then Wigan Wade. I've got a new nickname for Wade Egan. Wigan. Wade Egan played in the halves, didn't he? Played halfback, played 5'8". So good. Yeah, it was probably as much as it sucked to see Metcalf go off. I'm looking forward to seeing what Tamari can do this week. We head to Suncorp to play against the Finns for the final round of the season.
A lot of interesting things to come out of this coming up game. Like I said, we've been talking about, to see how these players play, to see how Tamari Martin goes, to see how Dylan Walker goes at 13, because the rumors are that Tohu could be out for even some of the final series, which is a big scare, as we mentioned earlier. Yeah. But also, it's just also to see how the boys like SJ, Dallin, and all those players have been rested. Wigan. We'll call him Wigan. Big Wigan. Yeah. Well, have been rested. So be interesting to see how they come back, because that was the one part. See, I understood everybody's argument about resting some of the Warriors players, especially someone like SJ, etc. But I was still a little bit wary personally because of the way they came back from their bye after having a rest. And I remember in Adam Fanua-Blake, for example, as well, big one that's been rested as well. I remember reading an article with him saying that he wants to play on, but he obviously said we'll let the coach make the decision, obviously. But he was also saying that after the bye, he actually mentioned after the bye they've been a little bit sluggish compared to what they normally been playing all season. So he just sort of proved my point by saying that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they come back in the first week of the finals. But again, awesome shout out to the boys, because they got to the top 4, which gives them that the ability to go out and play an awesome game. And if it doesn't work out in the first week, well, you know what, you got another life because you made it there because of all those gritty wins. Even the wins even the wins against the lowest, lower ranked sides, a win's a win, right? Prefer the polished performance in terms of you getting it right and stuff. No unforced errors and stuff, but not every game's gonna be perfect. But so all we can do right now is just say, "Come on, boys, let's finish this. Let's finish this." And when I say finish this, I mean finish it at the grand final. Let's bring home that premiership for the first time. But yeah, I just think it's going to be an interesting weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to, I'll be at work at the time because the Lions are playing as well, and against Counties Manukau Ranfurly Shield game. So before the game, I'll probably have to sneak my phone out just to have watching the game.
At the same time as Warriors.
Oh, they're playing at 5 p.m. Warriors playing at 5 p.m. Counties, Lions are playing at 7. So I'll have to.
You'll be right. You'll be able to have it on. Right. Surely a few of the boys would be interested in. Can we get it? Can you get us an up the wires from a few of the lines? A little video montage.
Hopefully, my job won't be on the line for it. But saying that, considering I deal with all the media and stuff.
They'd love it. I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. I'll see what I can do. See if I can be real.
On the up the wires, I've got a list of just some great up the wires moments from the week that's just been. Started off obviously a big shout out to One New Zealand changing their little sign on their in the reception bar to up the wires. That's a great move, and I'm sure there was a few very confused boomers out there this week, not quite sure what was happening there. So hopefully they're now on board. Massive shout out to Steve Kerr, the USA basketball team coach. He also coaches the Golden State Warriors. He got asked what he thought about the NRL, and he said, up the wires. So you absolutely love to see it. Christopher Luxon, the National Party leader, he was out. Just a random post I saw on Instagram, and the quote was just up the wires. So he's a bit of a bandwagoner, to be honest, but, good on you, Chris. And I laughed after the All Blacks game because Laura McGoldrick was doing the post-game coverage. And just before the ad, she snuck a little up the wires in there, and got a good reaction from a few other boys. And also in NZ Herald coverage, there was so after the game, it was sort of like All Blacks got smashed, and then it was just a big up the wires afterwards. So, and also my favourite of all, a big shout out to a big fan of the show, Don McCormick, for the song that he sent through last week. It was a little soundbite from John saying up the wires. So I'll bring that up on the recording, and we'll be able to the fans will be able to hear that as I'm speaking now.
It was terrible, mate. It was terrible. Come on.
New theme song. Come on.
I was listening to myself, and it sounded terrible. I was like, I'm gonna keep it, PG and just say it was terrible. That's what I'm gonna say.
No new theme song.
Oh, shout out to Don. Obviously someone that comes in and likes our show and listens to the show. So, good on him for doing that. I'm talking about me sounding terrible, like my voice sounding terrible in the theme song. But yeah, shout out to Don for that. But this whole up the wires thing it's gone quite global, hasn't it? It's got viral, it's gone global, not just in New Zealand, but it's like you said, America and the States. I've seen multiple videos of people like on airplane flights saying up the wires as well. Yeah. I've seen this is in New Zealand, but supermarket, someone at Pack and Save, and I think it's Pukekohe. They were like, we're about to close, get your items, get to the checkout before we close. And he's like, up the wires. I think it's just a viral thing that everyone's doing now. It's a theme thing, like how TikTok things have those things that go on. It's kind of like that at the moment, isn't it?
It just makes me happy every time I hear it. So I'm really. Do you watch that? Have you seen the one of the European cricket? That European Cricket League.
Yes, I saw that one.
One of the hosts from there, he sort of gave us a little description of the game, and then at the end of it, just snuck a little up the wires in there. So you gotta love it.
Yep.
Anyway, should we talk about some rugby league? Shall we?
Before I actually thought before we get into the rugby league, mate, I wanted to bring something up that's related to you from the last episode, and if you were listening, you would have heard that Richard's voice got a little bit soft when he started talking about John Schuster. So we've obviously worked out who his man crushes because of his eyes. You love his eyes, don't you?
Yeah, they're the best eyes in the league. I don't know if he's the most beautiful man in the NRL, but he's definitely got the best eyes, I reckon.
Yeah, and I saw something. I actually couldn't find the list for some reason. I don't know if it's just my bad research skills, but or I just couldn't just bother they're not up there. But apparently, there's a top 100 hottest NRL players, and I couldn't see who was on there. I found some of them right here. So you've got I think Reece Walsh is up there. Who else is up here? Nico Hines, Pappenhausen, Ruben Garrett, Karen Murray, Dylan Brown, Jordan Ricky. So those guys. And I just wanted to ask you, like since you've got a man crush now with John Schuster, and we'll throw in Jackson Ford in there just for Monera over in Warriors Anonymous. But who do you think? We'll make it. I was going to say top 10 hottest NRL players, but we'll make it 5 because we could be going on about this all day trying to figure out players and stuff because we had time to think about this. Who are your top 5 hottest NRL players?
I'd have to have. I'm going to have Joey Manu at number 1. I'm a big Joey Manu fan. Okay. He's got a beautiful face, little baby face, and he's such a silky player as well. Especially even when he gets, but when Latrell gave him the big shoulder a few years ago and he had that big blown up eye, it's still beautiful. So Joey Manu at 1. I'm a big Cameron Murray guy, actually. He's just got something about it. He's got a beautiful sort of slick back here, and I know he plays the Rabbitohs, so it's a bit of a downer on him. But with Cameron Murray number 2, keep another Kiwi in number 3 for me. Joey Tapine, a bit of a dark horse, I reckon.
Yep,
but
I
think he's sort of similar of that Joey Manu sort of mould, but just a guy who is so handsome, but you would not want to run at him. Also, shout out to him for that massive hit he put on Reece Walsh after the hooter the other day. I don't know if you saw that.
Brilliant. Yeah, that was brilliant.
So often I get so frustrated at players who are just like wasting time like that. And it's just so good to see just a bit of frustration sort of come out. Speaking of Reece Walsh, I'll put him in at 4 because he is a snake, but he is a good looking man. And I'll put Schuster in 5. As I said, he's got the best eyes, but I think there's probably a few more handsome men in the league ahead of him.
So is it fair to say that he is your man crush, or no, just because of his eyes?
No, Joey Manu's my man crush.
Okay.
Yeah. Schuster's got the eyes, but I think Joey Manu would be my number 1.
Yeah, I think we'll have to ask the Warriors Anonymous boys what their man crushes are, because I know we already know Monera's one, Jackson Ford. I don't know why he thinks Jackson Ford is a very beautiful specimen of a man. I don't know why, but the way he spoke about him that time we spoke with him, he went into detail, didn't he? So we'll have to ask the Warriors Anonymous boys what they think. I'm sort of similar to what you've got. I've got Joseph Tapine in there as well. This is actually not an order of 1 to 5, but I've just got 5 guys here. Nico Hines, I can't go past those lovely locks of his.
Oh, it's so greasy though.
No, I think
I do love Nico Hines, but it's just a bit greasy.
I think that's just on game day though. But when it's not game day, he looks like he looks like a Fabio. If I didn't know that was Nico Hines, and someone said to me, "Who's that guy?" I would say that's Fabio.
Yeah,
that's a
Fabio. Have a Fabio look to him. I'll give you that.
Yeah, Fabio look. Yeah, Fabio. This might not be a popular entry, but I just think I think he's a beautiful man. Dylan Brown, another Kiwi.
Yeah, he's not a bad-looking guy. I'll give you that.
Yeah, yep.
Maybe does some debatable things when he's out on the weekend.
Yeah. But what NRL player hasn't? What NRL player hasn't done anything bad on the weekend?
Simon Mannering wouldn't have.
Simon
Mannering wouldn't have.
Oh no, definitely not. Reece Walsh, I've got him there too. I mean, I had to ask my wife on the weekend when she says, "Do you reckon he's wearing mascara?" And she was just like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, it's just me then. It's just me." But and number 5, I couldn't really. I wanted to pick a Warriors player, and I couldn't think of one of the Warriors players. So who would be? So I thought that if there was anyone in the Warriors side that would kind of be like a model-like sort of type person, I don't know, maybe a Freddie Lussick. Can you see that sort of thing? Can you see him? He's not a man crush to me or anything. I just think that would he be the most model-looking type guy for the Warriors?
He's sort of, He's a handsome guy. Yeah, he's kind of got that
Kind of
sort of
looks like,
got
you
the
know,
blonde
like
hair,
kind of,
blue eye look going down,
yeah,
and
it's kind of like he was in like a '90s, you know, boy band sort of type thing. Got that kind of look as
yeah.
well.
So that. I mean, you can always just put Dallin in there because that hair,
Oh,
you
that
know.
perm is beautiful. Yes, I
Yeah,
admit that. I think that we need to, before the season ends, we need to have a Dallin Appreciation Week episode because of what he's done this year. So I
yeah.
think
Be
we need
talking
to,
about that.
yep, we
You
do
saw
actually
some
have to go
weeks.
there.
Anyone
Yep,
knows, but there's a few. I've seen a few Dallins out in the crowd. So at the Warriors game. So if anyone's listening and
yeah,
knows where to find a nice black permed wig that we could wear one show, that'd be
yeah,
much appreciated.
yep. So yeah, that's my five for now. For now, but I'm pretty sure I've missed out on a lot of players that could have, because obviously haven't given a lot of thought to this. It's just the last minute thing to bring up. But yeah, I just thought that John Schuster would have been your man crush, but I was wrong. I was
I
wrong.
mean, yeah. I mean, as I said, he's not. It's the eyes. I think he's got the best eyes. But as far as a man
Yeah,
crush, I think, um, yeah, Joe Manning. He's a Kiwi, and I just love seeing him. He's got the work ethic as well. Josh Schuster
yeah,
probably. I do love good work ethic in a man. So and
yeah.
Josh
Well,
Schuster's kind of he's lacking there. So
I mean, if you were to take him out on a date, KFC would be the way to go with John Schuster. I think.
yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
A little 12 piece with a 1.5 liter of Pepsi. I don't even do Pepsi anymore, do they? So
I don't
Coke
know.
now. Very disappointing.
Haven't been KFC in a while. Since I got married, I've been trying to keep off the takeaways because yeah, it's just my wife mentioned to me a few times. Mentioned picked up a bit of weight over the last
I was
6
like,
months. So yeah.
surely you're more of a Wendy's guy, with their sponsorship of the Wars. So
Oh, if there was one here, if there was one, I mean, there's one in Kapiti, but that's just too far to
yeah,
go.
it's one part of it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, just to keep my wife happy. Say no, I'm a very spirulina, sort of juice type guy. So anyway, we'll leave that at that.
I saw you drinking what looked like a glass of spinach and water
Oh,
before. So
no, it's kiwi fruit juice, mate. Kiwi fruit juice.
oh, that'll get you going.
Yep, that'll get you
Okay.
going.
Should we talk about some rugby league, shall we?
Yep, let's go.
What happened last week? We'll do a really quick recap because we've already been talking for a while.
Yep.
Thursday night, big upset, huge upset. Eels 32, Panthers 18. Panthers playing a strong team. Eels, obviously, the season was done, but it was nice to see they had a bit of life left in them. I think they've now beaten the Panthers about 4 out of the last 6 times they've played. So maybe a little bogey team there. So,
Well,
do you think if they'd won that, do you think that maybe Cleary would have rested a few players this week? Or
I think so. I think that because of Brisbane's rested. But I mean, how could Cleary have known? Cleary. How would he have known what Kevy Walters was going to do to his side? Because they all submit their sides at the same time.
yeah,
But
well, there might be a few. Penrith might have a few late outs or whatever. But
yeah, he might do that.
strong team.
He might do that now, considering. But the thing is, if the Broncos lose, that gives the Panthers a chance to take that minor premiership if they win, because they've got a much superior points differential.
Yeah.
So the Broncos lose, and they could, because it's Melbourne, but Melbourne have got a few players out, but they've still got some good players in there. So if they do lose, the Panthers could take a third straight minor premiership. But in terms of that game, where the heck have we been seeing that kind of play from the Eels all season? They bring it in literally to the second to last. Oh, it is their last game because they got a bye.
The last game, they're not playing this week.
It was literally their last game of the season, and they turn up for their last game of the season. Where the heck has that been?
Yeah,
all
it's
year?
a real shame for Eels fans, because they obviously had such a good season last year, and got the grand final, but wasn't to be. Yeah, so as we saw what they're capable of, but this wasn't to be for them this season. If you're going to give them a grade for the season, what would you give them, the Eels?
Oh, yeah, D.
Yeah,
Get that
nowhere near a pass. Almost like a D minus.
Nah, you get a D. Yeah.
Yeah. Not great
yeah.
for them. So I don't know. That sums it up. We'll see what happens this week with the Panthers. Warriors Dragons on Friday night. Sorry. Warriors 18, Dragons 6. I mean, I sort of alluded to it before. I felt like the Warriors were going to run away with it a little bit. I think they were the much better team, but they just were making some silly errors. Obviously, Fanua Blake. Fanua Blake had scored that try, which you just can't. I mean, you can't. you can't be doing that in first grade,
No.
like it's
He'll learn from that though. He'll learn. From that.
I know, and he scored the try later on. The irony of Sloan making that stuff up and then him
trying to pick up the ball. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a gutsy win. It was good to see a few of the a few guys sort of. Obviously, Karen was out in the centres and sort of that left edge looked a little more solid. I don't think. It was didn't we only leaked the one try and what was the try from? I'm just trying to think. Who scored it?
Sorry? What was the what?
The Dragons try. Who scored the Dragons try? I've just had a mind blank.
Was it Lomax?
Yeah, that rings a bell. Yeah,
I think it was Lomax. I think it was Lomax that scored the try. But I mean, I think Willie Mason put it really well when he said that they've been gritty. The Warriors have won some games against some the lower end teams, lower end of the table teams. But the teams that are coming at them, they're throwing everything at them. Like the Tigers, they didn't play that badly. They didn't play that badly at all. Dragons haven't played that badly in the last few games.
No.
And so, and even when the Warriors weren't playing up to their best, they still produced a win. And that's what's awesome to see about the Warriors, that they haven't folded when they're when they're a little bit of dire straight. They just keep on going on, and I think it's going to be interesting to see them this week. Without Adam Fanua-Blake there, because he's the one that gives them that go forward and gives them those meters at the front and gives them that momentum. I think he's a big reason of the momentum. So with Barnett back, he's I don't know if he's a like for like replacement, but he's up there, as that enforcer type player to get the go forward for the Warriors pack, and give Volkman and Tamari Martin some space to do some magic. I want to see what it's gonna be an exciting game to watch. Really exciting game to watch. But yeah, we can move on for that one. The next game.
Yeah. Dolphins 10, Cowboys 34. I think the Dolphins, didn't I?
Yeah.
What happened there? I think it was that first half. I think it was like 24-0 or something after the first half. I went to bed after the first half. Yes, I was, it gets to 11 o'clock on a Friday night and I just can't do it anymore if it's 24-0.
No.
It's good to see the Dolphins sort of put a bit of a fight in the second half, and I think it was must have been 12-10 in the second half. So, 10-all in the second half, sorry. I mean, we've sort of talked about Dolphins a couple of times this season. They were looking pretty good, halfway through the season, but they've just fizzled off. A few injuries, wasn't to be. The Cowboys knew their season was on the line, and they stepped up. Even, without Holmes, he must be back soon, eh? Is he?
I think so. Well, I mean, the Dolphins are they're on 14th position, so they're gonna finish at the lower end of the table, but I still think that you would consider their season to be quite successful, because no one gave them at the start of the season. No one gave them any shot, especially when they were struggling to put a roster together. They were struggling to get a marquee player at the start of the season. But I think that they have, with what they have got, they've done pretty well.
Yeah, because they'll probably finish ahead of the Tigers, the Bulldogs, and the Dragons. And you look at the rosters in those three teams, I feel like they're better than what the Dolphins have got. So it's just that Wayne Bennett factor. And I think I did talk about last week, but the Dolphins got a few players coming back next year. Few players coming next year. So I'm looking forward to, hopefully they can, put up a fight next year, and hopefully they can put up a fight on and give us a bit of a test on Saturday night as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Storm 37, Titans 16. The Storm, another kind of, the last few weeks, I feel like they've been a little bit shaky, and but they're too clinical in that final quarter. I think it's that final 20 minutes.
Right.
And the last 2 weeks they've just been too good. And it was 16-all with 20 minutes to go.
Yeah,
pretty strong.
It was a lot tighter than the scoreboard makes it look out to be.
Yeah.
But you're right. It was the final quarter where they just ended up just dominating them and then just put them away, which they're known for doing, to teams.
Yeah.
But Titans were in the game, but like the Titans of all season, this whole season, been in many of the games, but just fold towards the end.
Yeah.
Been very unlucky the Titans, because they're a good footy side. I actually think they're a good footy side, but they've been unlucky. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're one to watch for next year. If they can sort of keep that core, and if they can get a good season out of that young Jaden Campbell, who's obviously injured at the moment, but he's one of the most exciting players in the compo. Yeah. I'd love to see him, watch him play, apart from when he's playing against the Warriors. Roosters continue their their late go at the finals. Can they make it? 32-8 over the Tigers. They got a game this weekend against the Rabbitohs, who are in strife at the moment. And
that's the game. That's the game of the round for me.
I'm just looking at this. We'll obviously get to this week's games, but there's a lot on the line in these games, so it's good to have a final round with lots happening. But yeah, I mean, Roosters, just keep on rolling, Roosters, and make it exciting for us in this final week. And once again, prayers to the Tigers fans. What did happen a couple of weeks ago? We didn't touch on it last week, but did you see Luke Brooks getting the barbecue?
Oh yeah, yes, I did see that. Apparently, it's quite expensive barbecue, so fair enough.
You'd hope so. He played like 200 games for a club, so you thought it was bad. Well, I mean, surely I just hope they gave him something else. I hope that wasn't the only thing they gave him.
Well, apparently he was loyal to them for a long time. He's outdoor cooking, so that's what they got him for. I mean, if it was just a gift, just because of the fact they just wanted to give him a barbecue, that might be a bit different. But apparently, don't quote me on this because it could be totally wrong. But if I heard, it was just because he's got this big thing for cooking out, barbecue dinners and barbecue meals. So
yeah,
I mean,
maybe he had like he had a little list of a registry of what the club could buy him for his service.
Yeah.
Who else played? Oh, Raiders Broncos.
Yep.
Another game which the scoreline probably doesn't tell you how close it was. I think it was 18. Was it 20? The Raiders even winning with not long to go, and then the sort of Reece Walsh show happened, and he scored a try, set up a try, and got a field goal in the final 15 minutes, and that's probably why Tapine decided to drop him at the end there, just in frustration of the little smart ass getting in his head. So
was it legit to you? I mean, was it a hit? What do you think about the hit? Was it a legit hit? Because he slows down.
If it happened on Charles Nichol's there, I'd be ropeable. So
yeah,
but Reece Walsh probably deserved it. To be honest, he's a snake. So
well, what do you do? Because look, just for a second, there've been moments. For example, you look at your man crush of Joey Manu. He did it. Remember when he had the ball in hand? He started to look like he's gonna. I think this was last season where he had the ball. I was like, I'm cramping up, and then the defending players sort of slowed down, and then as soon as he did that, he just shot off the acceleration. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Was that for the Kiwis or for Roosters?
No. That was for. I'm pretty sure it was for the Roosters, and I mean, I can't remember. I know he did it though. I know he did it.
Definitely rings a bell.
And so he was like, I don't know if he was faking it or not, but he was like, like the defending players were like giving him respect by not hitting him because he looked like he was injured, but then he just took off. So going on that, because they scored from that, I think. So going on that, the play is still live. The play is still live. Reece Walsh does it, so the play is still live. So what do you think? Was it a legit hit, or should have Joseph's Tapine sort of said, okay, he's not.
Reece Walsh was like laughing, so like it was just being a little smart, So I think like it just would have been a frustration thing, like from Joe Tapine, and good on him. He's probably just getting one back for all the Wars fans that were disappointed him of Reece Walsh just shitting on the club, So
well, he gave it up the Wars, as well.
I did see that actually. Yeah. Him and a few of the Broncos players, so it's good to see.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, if it was another player on another player, I think the fact is like Tapine is obviously not a grub, is he? Like I feel like he's a pretty clean guy, pretty clean player. So
I like Tapine, but I wouldn't call him a clean player. But yeah, I wouldn't call him a clean player, but I like him. I think he's an amazing player, but I wouldn't call him a clean player. But yeah, my opinion anyway. But I think he's an awesome player especially because he's a Kiwi as well. Plays for the Kiwis, stuff like that. But yeah.
And then what else happened last weekend? Bulldogs 24, Seagulls 42.
Dead rubber.
Yeah, dead rubber. Nothing really to touch on there. Glad the Seagulls can hopefully keep Seabolt happy for a week.
Yeah.
And the Knights, jeepers, John, they're flying. 32-6. Obviously no Nico Hines. Did you see there was something about this country singer that's been in Australia, Luke Combs, I think his name is, and apparently everyone there's about 3 NRL players that have sort of got close to him in the last week, and one of them was Latrell, who obviously got had his send off and had that shocking game against the Knights, and then Nico this week was ruled out that game. So and the Luke Combs effect, NRL players stay away from him. But yeah, I mean the Knights are 5th on the table now. They're 5th on the table with 33 points. So the Sharks are 32 and the Raiders are 32 as well. And then there's obviously that battle for 8th with the Rabbitohs 30, Cowboys 30, Roosters 30.
Yeah.
But the Roosters minus 38 with the points differential. So if the Cowboys win, then the Roosters are out. But if the Cowboys win and the Cowboys lose and the Roosters lose, the Roosters amazingly make the 8. So
yeah, I'd rather, my personal opinion, I'd rather the Rabbitohs stay or the Cowboys go through, because they're the 2 teams that I don't think they don't look that impressive. The Roosters though are starting to find their way right at the last minute.
Yeah.
It might be a bit too late for them, but they're finding their way right now, and they have shown in the last few games. And a lot of their players, like Brandon Smith and stuff, they're all doing they're playing their roles to perfection. And Joseph Sawai, let's pronounce his right name wrong, but they're all playing their roles to perfection right now. And if you would ask me who I'd rather play, like Rabbitohs, Cowboys, and Roosters, I'd rather play the Rabbitohs with the Cowboys rather than the Roosters. And Roosters are kind of like a bogey team for us as well, don't you think?
Well, yeah, we lost them twice this year when we, probably thought they were good then.
Yeah.
And I suppose we've seen now they are good. They've just had a pretty rough run with the injuries, the Roosters. So there's also, the Raiders are on minus 119 with their points differential. So if they lose and then the Rabbitohs and the Cowboys win, the Raiders are out and the Rabbitohs and Cowboys both go through. So, plenty on the line for the final week. Should we do what do you want to do? Do you want to do we touch on the games? Because there's a couple of goodies.
Well, okay, so I think with reviewing the game, sort of previewing the games, I just want to go over just because of a time factor. Maybe we should focus on the top 4. The games that are going to have an impact. So we just talked about. So for example, Rabbitohs Roosters. Who have you got? No, I think Latrell's out, isn't he? He's out of this game.
Yeah, Latrell's out.
The game's on the line, like you were saying. Who would you have as going in? Because who would be if you were to, I'll just say the round has gone. Who is your going on the games that are coming up? Who is your top 8? Who is your top 8?
So I've got the Roosters. I think the Roosters will beat the Rabbitohs. I think Rabbitohs are just in disarray. Latrell's out. And the drama with Burgess, and it seems like all the old boys are getting in on it, and everyone's got an opinion. It's probably not helping their sort of thing. So I think that I've got the Roosters going up to 32, still with minus 38. The Cowboys will not beat Penrith, so I think the Cowboys
full strength side.
Providing they Penrith have the full strength side. So I've got the Roosters sneaking in above both of those teams. And that's it. The Raiders will stay there because they're on 32 with their minus whatever, and that means the Roosters will sneak into 7th, and the Raiders will be 8th.
There is a chance, for example, just for example, Cowboys beat Penrith. I don't think it's going to happen, but we've seen some weird things of late. Especially with the Eels doing it last week. Beating Panthers. Just say the Cowboys beat the Panthers. They would go to 32, and they've got a higher points differential. And then just say the Roosters beat the Rabbitohs. I think that the Raiders could drop out.
Yeah, absolutely. They can. Yeah,
they could actually drop out of the 8 if because of their low, minus 119 points differential. They could easily drop out of the top 8. Going on some results, so they need to beat the Sharks. Can the Sharks drop out? They've got 104, so I think they're pretty
Sharks
safe.
Are all good. Yeah,
so I think they're safe, but I think the Raiders,
unless the Roosters won by 147 points, which probably isn't going to happen. So,
well, I think positions number 1 to 6, which is Broncos, the current currently it's Broncos, Panthers, Warriors, Storm, Knights, and Sharks are locked in. I'm not saying locked in that order, but they're locked. Those guys are locked in. They're locked in. They can't get out of the 8. It's the Raiders, Rabbitohs that can get out of the 8, and it's the Cowboys, Roosters that can jump into the 8. That's going to be the interesting one. And I have a feeling that the Roosters are going to beat the Rabbitohs, like you're saying. I think they're going to beat them, which means they will get on. They will jump up to 32 points, but they're on, like I said, minus 38. Which if they beat them, they should be on maybe minus 20 something. But it all comes down to where the Cowboys and the Penrith game. I think the Roosters will beat the Rabbitohs, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Cowboys go against the Panthers, and if Cleary does some last minute, pulls out some players in the last minute. Yeah, but I think number one to six, Broncos, Panthers, Warriors, Storm, Knights, Sharks, locked in. They can't get out of the 8. I don't know if they'll finish in that order, but they can't get out of the 8. So it's going to be some interesting. I think people's eyes are going to be on those games, and if you're just on their own club sides, because whether they play well under with depleted teams like the Broncos, Storm, and the Warriors. The Knights, for me though, are the dark horse. That's the team I'll be worried about.
Yeah, well, they're 5th now, and they'll probably stay there because they've now won 8 in a row, is it 7 or 8 in a row, and they're playing against the Dragons. So they'll stay there. They can't make the 8 because they're on 33 and Storm are on 36. So the only thing, I mean, it's the way that the Sharks Raiders is the last game of the round as well, so it's going to make things very interesting. I'll just give you I'll give my quick tips quickly. Broncos Storm, I'll go. I'm going to go to Storm because the Broncos have pulled out such a weak team. Manly Tigers, go Wests. I'll get a win to finish the season. Rabbitohs Roosters, already said that. Roosters, Rabbits are not looking good. Waz Finns, Waz, Penny P Smokies. I'll go Penrith over Cowboys. Knights, Dragons, Knights. Knights will be too good. And Titans, Bulldogs.
Titans for me.
Titans, Bulldogs, Titans, yeah. And then Sharks, Raiders.
Sharks for me.
Oh, the Raiders,
Yeah,
Sharks.
I still think they're pretending.
I mean, it just shows you with the Sharks, Hines is out, and that's they had that momentum coming up. They were playing so well, and then they've just had that big loss to the Knights team.
It's interesting because who do you want to go through? I don't want the Roosters to go through. I don't want them to go through at all. I'd rather not play the Roosters. I'd rather play the Rabbitohs or Cowboys if the Warriors are going to play.
Yeah, I don't want to play the Rabbitohs because we've lost 11 times in a row or something to them. So
but
Cowboys.
I think
Cowboys. We've got a good record against Cowboys. So of those two teams, definitely the Cowboys. And the fact that they haven't been playing great as well. Probably helps that.
I just don't want. I'd rather not see the Roosters, jump in there, and the whole. If you look at the NRL season as a whole, it's been a very, very, the pundits at the start, picking the sides. They picked, the Cowboys to be right up there. They picked the Roosters to be right up there. The Eels to be right up there. They picked, the Seagulls to be in the top 8. How badly has everyone's predictions gone this season? It's been great for the game. I mean Penrith. Everyone predicted Penrith to be up there, and they always are. Broncos, I expected to be in the top 8, but not where they are right now. Storm as always, but in Sharks, yes, and Rabbitohs, yes, at the time. But Warriors, Knights, and Raiders, good on them. Good on them for showing they can beat. They can do the job and get in there. And this final series is going to be really, really interesting. I'm actually terrified, because I'm terrified and nervous at the same time because this is the first time we've been in the finals for a while, and it's not just that we are in the top 4, and it's about how we go and who we play. And there are teams I don't want to play, and there are teams I do want to play. So,
who would you rather play in the first round of the finals? Broncos or the Panthers?
And I would say the Broncos. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because if they do play the Broncos, they get to play them at Suncorp. And playing at Suncorp would probably be a lot better than playing in Penrith's home stadium because there'll be a lot of Kiwis there, a lot of Warriors supporters that will turn out at Suncorp.
Yeah.
For that sole reason, I would say the Broncos. I'd rather play the Broncos rather than the Panthers. That's who I'd rather play. What about yourself?
I'd probably rather play the Panthers, and then if we lose, we can avoid playing them in the knockout, in the preliminary.
Yeah.
But also, it would be good to have I think you're right about the Suncorp factor. I think there would be a lot of Kiwis. Obviously, there'd be, Broncos have got one of the biggest memberships. I think, if not the biggest memberships in the whole comp. So, but it's going to be hard either way. It's for sure.
Yeah.
And then playing. Yeah, if we could avoid the Knights, it'd be nice. It'd be.
I'd love to
nice
avoid the Knights.
It'd be nice if the Raiders sort of managed to sneak into the sort of second round of the finals, and we played them at Mount Smart. That'd be the dream.
Yeah, don't want to play them and put Rick into tears again. He's gone on one of his raids again. Did you notice over the weekend?
Yeah, telling the cameraman to.
Yes, I saw that.
I'm all for it. It's the emotion you want to see. From your coaches.
Well, I feel sorry for their media manager. Being someone who actually does that role, for a professional sports team, I feel sorry for their media manager.
But you know what you're in for. Like, it's not like he's sort of applying for the job, and the people, the interviewees are sort of like, so what do you know about the club? What do you know about our teammate, our players, and our coach?
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll get a little bit of a heads up.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I were to be honest, the nightmare media, if I was to be, any specific team at the moment, it would be probably the Raiders or the Wallabies, because Eddie Jones is, oh my gosh, he's a nightmare. For media, especially when journalists, especially with the World Cup, big high interest, and he just the thing is that he has a go at the journalists, right? Have you noticed that he has a big go at the journalists, but he brings it on himself with the stupid stuff that he says as well. He brings it on all himself. He says how they're going to put up this big fight. They're going to do this. Watch out, All Blacks. Watch the New Zealand economy. And then what happens? Nothing. They get beaten. And then the journalist going to ask them about that, and then he just has a go at them. So yeah, Eddie Jones is a plonker in my head. He might be a good coach and stuff. I don't know if he's a good guy or not, but he's just an idiot in my head. So especially coming from someone who does media, that's what I think. And you're in comms as well, so he's just an idiot in my head. But anyway, another sport.
That's what he's good at. He's good at winding people up, and it's worked in the past. You think back to the 2019 World Cup. He well and truly got on the All Blacks' head, and we got absolutely owned in that semi-final. So, but enough. Yeah, as you said before, enough about rugby. Is there anything else we want to touch on before we sort of call it in for the week?
No, I think to be honest,
another 2 points, boys. Jump on the bandwagon, and if you're not on the bandwagon yet, jump aboard, because everyone's welcome.
Yep, exactly. And I think what we need, we need to save a little bit of energy for what's coming, because it's going to be big. The Warriors locked in the top 4, a guaranteed, spot, in the finals. Even if they lose, they're still in the finals. It's a big couple of weeks coming along, and I'm excited for it. I can't wait for it, and I think there's going to be a lot to talk about. Big news, big announcement to everyone out there, and I don't know if I should be announcing this right now, because what if it doesn't happen? But we have got a special guest coming along, either next episode or the episode after. We have got former Warriors player, fan favorite Charlie Gubb coming on to join us here at Couch Coaches to give us his insights into when he played on the Warriors, and also what's going on in the finals. So I've spoken to Charlie. He's keen for this. Definitely a big fan favorite. You were saying when you were at TB, he's one of the favorites that people would come in and talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a post about Mount Smart sort of icons, and he was in the top. I think he snuck into the top 10 there somewhere. So I have to bring that post back up and ask him what he thinks about that.
Yeah, old Charlie Gov. He's in Wellington now. He's got his own business, Porter King, his own Portaloo business. Apparently, it's the best Portaloo business in town. Gives the toilets a thorough clean. And everything, drains the old sea dragons in there, so it's all good. He's doing well for himself. So he's keen to come on board, and I'm really looking forward to talking to him. And what we'll do is, if you're listening right now, send us your questions. We'll closer to the time when we actually know when he's going to come on board, we'll send out some messages out there for to get questions for people to ask some questions of Charlie. But hopefully that happens. Hopefully I've not shot myself in the foot and got too over eager by announcing that right now. And it doesn't happen, but he's told me that he's coming on. So that's we'll leave it at that. Thanks everyone for also for all the subscribers. We're getting new followers and subscribers every day. People watching the podcast, obviously they're liking us, Richard. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, big shout out to Don. I think of our number one fan. Just a great guy, a big Waz supporter from day one. So. Cheers for the support, Don, and to everyone out there, getting amongst and enjoying the content.
Yeah, we've had a few good comments on our Facebook page. People getting into their opinions about what's going on with the Warriors, etc. So it's been awesome, right? You've seen all that. Also, just I'm not sure who this is. This might be one of your mates, Matt Maynard.
Yep. I know Matt Maynard. He's a Waz. He's a sicko for the Waz.
He's left a message up here saying, in regards to the team, happy with this team. 7 in a row is great, and they could easily drop this game, but the main guys will come back fresh. Can't believe how many stars the Bronx have rested with a minor premiership on the line. So thanks, Matt, for your comment. I totally agree. 7 in a row is great, but I think that this is actually a good side that's coming into this game against the Dolphins. And I'm really excited to see how it goes and how it impacts the next game after this, especially if they go well, like in terms of selection.
Yeah. And also, just a big shout out to Matt. I think I just remembered he took an up the Waz banner to the All Blacks game. He's in the UK at the moment and took an up the Waz banner to the All Blacks game on the weekend.
Oh, did he go to that game? Did he?
Yeah. So.
Oh, Matt, if you're listening to this right now, I'm sure Richard will let you know that we've mentioned you in here. Let us know how that went, because not just because of the All Blacks game, but also how it is, how you were shouting up the Waz up there. I just said it right there, up the Waz. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, the boy.
But thanks everyone. Thanks for listening, and thanks for all your support. We really appreciate it. Continue to share this around. Charlie's coming up, and it's going to be epic the next couple of weeks. So we're going to bring some epic shows to come along. Thanks, guys. How's it going?
Otherwise, choo choo, choo 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 choo.